Chris, how do you look at this first round matchup and the fact that you just beat them a
Yeah.
couple weeks ago?
I actually think we're very similar teams. You got two kind of hard-nosed, gritty teams that have fought all year long, and both teams have kind of one dominant scorer, with us, with Nick, and them with Dawson Garcia. And they have guys that have fit around Dawson, and we have guys that have fit around Nick. So I actually think it's a very even, kind of similar type teams. We happened to play well that night and a couple weeks ago, but they've shown their mettle. I mean, after that game, they went to Nebraska and won. They had a great opportunity to win at Rutgers this past weekend. I think they won 5 games away from home, which is one of the most in the league. So they're actually better. They have been better away from their home. So we know it's going to be a tough game. We've prepared hard for these guys. We'll have another good prep day today, and hopefully be ready to go tomorrow afternoon.
What's it been like for you at this point, after everything you've gone through this season, and get into the postseason and everything that these guys have been gritty about?
Yeah, I'm just really proud of our guys' resolve to get to this point. We've had, like, I just called them curveballs, along the way. Obviously the injuries, and then we've had a lot of crazy things happen in games. It was just kind of one of those years. And a number of those things kind of didn't go our way. And our guys just hung in there. I remember sitting at 4-11, after losing that big lead to Nebraska, and having 5 games left, and I just remember our guys just saying, like, we're going to keep battling, and we're going to find a way to have a winning season. So for them to be able to do that, to win those next 3 games, 2 on the road, and to put ourselves in a position to qualify for the Big Ten tournament, it's crazy. You look at our league, the parity of our league. We had a team that's on the NCAA bubble that won 7 league games that is not participating this weekend. So it kind of shows you how strong this league is from top to bottom. So for our guys, even though, look, some years, we won 12 the last 2 years, and those were great years. Like, there was a lot of rewarding things about this regular season with everything we went through, and I'm proud of this group. And now everyone, the slate is clean. You go to Indy, and we have Minnesota ahead of us, and you just go there and you compete and you fight and you try to see if you can put 40 minutes together to live to see another day.
What's your message to the team today?
Yeah, I mean, we'll do final preparations, not to veer from what we've done, continue to prepare the same way. I want them to be confident. I want them to be loose. Obviously got to get our legs right and be fresh and be ready to compete. But, the main thing is just let it rip. Go after it. I mean, you don't do anything in a postseason setting by being on your heels. You got to attack. You got to be confident. You got to play together. You got to kind of go, manage the ups and downs of a game. And our guys, for the most part, have done a good job of that. That's why we've been so competitive, pretty much in every game. Even the other night in Maryland, I mean, that's one of the very best teams. We had a 1-point lead with 12 minutes to go in a really tough environment. So our guys have battled and fought, and, I don't expect anything different tomorrow.
What are you looking for out of KJ and Joe, kind of the young guys you've asked a lot of this year?
Yeah, just continued growth. I think it's been good. You've seen the good. You've seen some of the bad. Par for the course with younger players. I think especially this last 10 games, these guys have gotten invaluable experience, and hopefully this can be a springboard for both of those guys, like, as they go into the offseason, like, man, these are the things I did pretty well, and these are the areas I really got to attack, if I want to be that consistent player in this league. So you guys know, I mean, we're super high on both those guys. We feel like both those guys are going to have great careers here, and I'm glad they've been able to get this playing experience. And, the best way to learn is by getting thrown into the fire. You can talk about it through practice and individual work and all these things, but unless you're out there in games under game conditions with game pressure, that's the best way to learn and know what you got to do to get better.
Coach, last year when you guys entered the Big Ten tournament, you pretty much knew you had an at-large bid
Yeah.
regardless of the outcome.
Yeah.
Is there anything different about your mindset going in, knowing you have to win that title?
Well, we're playing for our lives, but every team has its own journey, and ours, it's been a long journey. We started last summer. We had a trip to Italy and Greece last August. We've been together since then. These guys really love playing. They're really great friends. There's a great camaraderie, great chemistry with this group, and I think we'd love to keep this thing going as long as we could. So I think everyone understands. The next time you don't win, it's it. So you got to play the game as if it could be your last. And so I think that's how we're going to try to approach it and play with that kind of sense of urgency.
Coach, Nick, officially the Big Ten regular season scoring title.
That's awesome.
You talked at the beginning of the season about being impressed by his development, but has the extent of his development throughout the year and the fact that he's gotten that title, does that surprise you at all?
A little bit. I mean, I'm a huge believer in Nick, but if you would have told me before the year, he was going to be the leading scorer in the conference, I don't know that I would have predicted that. But, like I said, and we'll see what happens. Like, what he's done, especially these last 10 games after losing Brooks and Jalen, for us to win 4 of these last 10, the way he's carried us and gotten us into this berth, into the Big Ten tournament, to me, he's proven to be one of the very best players in this league. And hopefully he'll be recognized as such by the people that vote for those things. But I told him he's lucky as a coach who tells him to shoot it every time. So he should give me some of the credit for giving him that freedom. But I'm just so proud of him. I talked about it too. This growth period for him. We talk about KJ and Angelo, but after losing Jalen and Brooks, Nick's growth, becoming that unquestioned best player, number 1 on the scouting report, having to go against the defenses, but also having a lead. This was really the first time Nick, Brooks was our leader. He was our vocal, and Matt would step up kind of complimentary and Ty, and Nick would just be a baller. Once Brooks went down, it forced Nick to have to really step up in leadership. And that's what I've been really proud of too, the things he's saying in the locker room, the way he's pushing other guys, holding them accountable. And I think it's going to make him even that much better, as we move forward. But incredible season. I mean, come on now. I mean, this guy, what he's done and the way he's carried us and his competitive heart. I mean, there's no way we win 7 games, without what he's done. And just so proud of his Big Ten season this year.
Coach, you talked about after the Nebraska loss, sitting at 4-11, and that basically being from then on, it's basically do or die. You've got to win.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the season's over. How do you think that might help the team heading into this Big Ten tournament where, as you said, it's winning?
Yeah, I mean, we've kind of had that approach ever since that day. Like, hey, guys, let's just approach every game. Like, it'd be like, how hard would you prepare if it was an NCAA tournament game? How locked in would you be on film? How locked would you be in on our preparations if you knew, you were kind of playing for your life? So, we've been doing that kind of the last few weeks. Our guys have really rallied around that. And even though we lost, I think we went 3-2 our last 5 after that. I mean, we went toe-to-toe with 2 teams that are as good as it gets. I mean, you look at UCLA, what they've done, had a chance to win that ball game, played Maryland very well, into the last 10 minutes, and then, they kind of made a few plays and got it away from us there at the end. But, even the games we lost, these last 5 games, I think we've played our best basketball here in the last stretch of the season, and we're going to have to do that again if we want to win tomorrow.
How do you see Nick kind of take on the development part of not just like player-wise, but you mentioned the leadership thing, because throughout the season, it's easy to do that in off-season, kind of prepare yourself. But how do you see him kind of adjust mid-season to all these changes?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for him is he's such a gym rat. We've had to force his rest and recovery a little bit more, and he fights me tooth and nail on it. But, I don't know if he led the league in minutes, but he was right up there, and the physicality he plays with, and he never takes a play off. You guys know that. That's the beauty of Nick. Like, there's never once in a game when you watch on film where you're like, man, well, he took that one off. He took that play off. He's battling every second on both ends. He goes to the boards. The way he plays, what defenses are trying to do to him, the physicality. So I think the thing is managing and he's had to learn that. He's in the past he's had stress injuries because he hasn't listened. And he's done too much. And you always want that though as a coach. Like you always want to be able to pull the reins on a guy versus it's a lot harder to light a fire under somebody. And that's a big reason why he's good. But I think the biggest thing he's learned now is he's gone through this gauntlet of the Big Ten is to how to still get your work in, but keep your body fresh and your mind fresh, knowing each game, what's coming ahead of you. All right. Appreciate you guys coming out.
Thank
Yep.
you.
Yep. See you guys.
Well, you're in the tournament. What will you guys have to do to be able to beat a team that you just beat a couple weeks ago?
I think we just got to trust our game plan and trust our coaches, and, just to come out and just compete and we know that it's going to be a fight. It's hard to beat a team 2 times in a row, so we know it's going to be a battle, and we're just going to come out and trust the coaches in our game plan.
So much has happened to your team this season. What has made you guys so gritty at this point?
I just think, just our competitive nature and our spirit and our fight, just knowing that we're not going to give up, and we're just going to have each other's backs through thick and thin, and that just shows the resiliency of our team and how tough we are.
But what's it going to take to win the first game and go forward beyond that?
I just think it's going to take everybody. It's going to take everybody coming in, doing their part. On the defensive end is really what is going to help us get through these stretch of games. And I just think that having each other's backs the whole way is definitely what's going to get us through.
Do you think about your career at Northwestern and how it's gone for you at this point?
Yeah, I mean it's been a long journey. These last 5 years have been just amazing, ups and downs, and I just feel like I wouldn't trade it for anything, and it's been such a fun experience.
When you think about sitting at 4-11 after the Nebraska game, you guys learned a lot about how to not just play with each other, but how to kind of adjust to injuries, kind of the roadblocks you talked about. How have you guys done that, and how have you kind of helped that as a senior, kind of talking to the younger guys that have had to play a lot?
Yeah, I mean, after losing Brooks and Jalen, I mean, we knew we had to find a new identity and a new way to play with each other, and it was hard at first, but I think, getting back to being a strong-minded defensive team was kind of our main focus, because we knew we weren't going to be able to score 80, 90 points in a game. We had to keep teams in the 60s and 70s to win, so I think that's kind of what's been our motto these last 4 or 5 games or whatever, and that's definitely what's going to have to keep continuing as we progress.
How hard is it to change identities mid-season?
It's hard. It's really hard. I mean, just I would say we've had to change a couple times. Just at the beginning of the year without having Brooks, and then when Brooks coming back, and then without having Brooks and Jalen. So we've had to make a couple changes, and it's been hard, but I think our guys have really battled through that and adjusted well.
Chris said, the last couple games of the season necessarily didn't go your guys' way, but he feels like this team is playing its best still. Do you guys feel like you're playing your best ball at the right time?
Yeah, I feel like we're still a very dangerous team, just because we have nothing to lose. We just go out there and just play free and just have fun. And at the end of the day, it's basketball. We're not taking a test, so just play free and have fun.
Your last time out against Minnesota, Nick had 29 points in those playoffs and double-digit scoring. When you look back at that game, is there anything that you learned that you guys are trying to kind of alleviate that pressure off him and kind of spread the wealth a little bit?
I just think guys just being aggressive and taking their open looks as they come, and just to just attack pressure and to not get timid. I feel like that's something that we've definitely grown over these last 5 games or something. So I feel like continuing to do that and just staying aggressive.
Knowing that any game in this tournament could be your last as a Northwestern player, will it be a challenge at all to manage the emotions of the occasion?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be something that I've been thinking about, but at the end of the day, this day it was going to come. I mean, it was inevitable. I was going to have a last game at some point. So just embracing the moment, though, and enjoying the last time I get to have on the court with my guys is definitely going to be special.
How much have you seen Nick grow this season?
He's grown a lot, and for me to see his growth these last 3 years has just been amazing. To see where he started to where he's at now is one of the best players in the league. It's just been really cool to watch, and I look at Nick as like a little brother to me, so I'm just really proud of him and can't wait to see what his future has.
I mean, when he wins the Big Ten scoring title, what was your reaction to that?
I was like, man, wow, that's tough.
Chris, Coach Mellis talked about his play kind of being a little bit unorthodox, so the way that it's a little bit different. But when you see the way that he's able to take that, if they get into a Big Ten title winning season scoring-wise, what's that like watching that and kind of watching him work and kind of work different ways?
Yeah, I mean, Nick is one of the hardest working guys I know. So like every time I see him in the gym, he's always working on his little hook shots and his weird little buckets around the rim. But that just shows a testament to his work. I mean, he does it every day. He's just perfected it so well that he's just, at the end of the day, he's just really hard to guard for anybody. just because he's so herky-jerky and his finishing around the rim is just so good. So, I just feel like being able to see that and see it come into fruition over these last 3 years has been really cool.
One of the things Coach Collins said was that over the past 5 games or so, you guys basically been preparing like the right time. Given that you guys like doing that, had experience with that now for a couple years, how do you think that helps going into this year about situation?
Yeah, I think again, it's just at this point, it's eat or be eaten, win or go home. So like we just got to approach every game like it's our last, and we just got to fight with our backs against the wall and know that we're not going to go out without a fight. Thank you guys.
Nick, what's your thoughts going into this game and the fact that you guys had to fight and claw to get to?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when USC lost, we were all pretty excited, knowing that we were going to get the opportunity to play for a Big Ten championship. And yeah, it's just we're super motivated, and we know it's going to take a lot to win, but it's taken a lot to win. Every game this season, a lot of games have been do or die, so we're kind of used to it at this point, and I think we're super ready to go.
How would you describe your journey this season? The fact is, with the losses of players, and you had to take over the big role.
Yeah, I feel like ever since I've been here, I've been pretty adaptable. Just, with Julian and getting hurt my freshman year and getting an opportunity to play, and then Ty, obviously, last year getting the opportunity to start games. That's just part of our program and the culture. Things happen throughout the season. Things happen to every team, so you just got to be able to adapt on the fly.
How do you handle the do or die situation with the tournament right now?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, that's kind of been what it's been like for, the second half of the season. And yeah, just approaching practice, obviously you can't practice and do anything crazy, preparing for 5 games straight, but, you just have to be mentally locked in, mentally dialed in, and, take it one game at a time.
Can you talk about, I asked Ty about this a little bit, but adjust the identity of this team a handful of times this year. How difficult was that for you guys to adjust with Brooks, without Brooks, and losing Brooks again? What was that like? How difficult was that?
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows how good Brooks is. He really fills the stat sheet for us, and just his presence on the court, you can feel it. The difference with him on the court as opposed to him off the court. But yeah, it's these days at practice, where you kind of find that team identity, and when we knew he was going to be out for the season, we kind of had to go back to that defense. We've really been relying on the defense, especially those 3 games that we won. So yeah, that's something that we've been super honed in on. Obviously, we're not, with Jalen and Brooks out, we're not going to get the offensive production that we've had, which is fine. You can grind out games and grind out wins, which we've done, and hopefully we can do that more in the Big Ten tournament.
What was your reaction anytime that you won the Big Ten scoring title? When you were watching the Nebraska-Iowa game, were you aware of the permutation of the press meeting for scoring the 20 points?
Yeah, I was at breakfast with some of my teammates, and they started talking about it like, oh, let's calculate this. So we calculated it. I was doing a homework assignment. I just assumed that, because he's such a prolific scorer that, he was going to get his 20, 25. And then Blake Smith came in my room and was like, dude, he has 7 points. It was like 5 minutes left. So we were just watching the game, going crazy. But, yeah, obviously, like, that scoring title is a tribute to my teammates, finding me in the right spots all the time, and my coaches having the trust in me. Not every game if I, shot a good percentage. I've missed layups, threes, I've missed reads, I've taken terrible shots, but at the end of the day, the trust that my team has instilled in me is really what's gotten me over the hump.
No, we don't. We're going to find out a little bit later, but what would being first team mean to you?
Yeah, I think being on the first team would mean a lot, but I think being on any team, at the end of the day, it has been a dream of mine. Seeing that, my progression over the years, I obviously want to be a first team player, but whatever the case may be, I have trust that, the coaches in our league have good judgment, and same with the media. So, they watch a lot of basketball and see things, that I maybe don't see. So I have trust in them that they'll make the right decision. But if not, I'm just it's not in my control. You know, things that aren't in my control, I don't really have to worry about. So I'm not super worried about, you know, where they put me. I'm just, you know, looking forward to getting to play more games.
Yeah, you guys had success against this team just a couple of weeks ago. I know it's a clean slate, but does that give you maybe a little bit of confidence going into this?
I mean, they've definitely, as we have, they've gotten better over these past couple games since we've played them. And I think, you know, we're going to see a little bit of a different team, and they've gotten the opportunity to see us, you know, in person and kind of feel the intensity that we play with. So they're going to be ready to go, and we need to be ready to go from the tip.
One more question.
Nick, when you guys entered the Big Ten tournament last year, you pretty much knew you had an at-large bid waiting for you. How's your mindset? Is your mindset any different going into this, knowing you have to win that title?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, last year, obviously, winning a Big Ten tournament championship is everyone's dream here. And so we still had that dream last year, but as opposed to this year, we just want, me personally, selfishly, I just want to keep playing with these guys. I want to keep seeing Ty and Matt's and Brooks' face every day, you know. That's something, you know, maybe that the transfers or younger guys don't really feel as much because they haven't been around the program, you know, for as long. But for someone that's been here for 3 years, I kind of just, you know, selfishly want to see these guys, you know, each and every day, you know, hopefully get to hang out with them at the hotel for 5 days straight. That would be nice. So, yeah, definitely that's a motivator for us.
Okay, that wraps us up. Thank you.
Thank you very much.